Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi there, and welcome to the 63rd episode of A Couple Takes on MS. Hi, this is Dan Digman.
And hi, it's me, Jennifer Digman.
And welcome to our show of what we're going to talk about. I don't know, just to follow up and remind you, if you have heard our show before or if you haven't, just we are two people who are living with multiple sclerosis. I have had MS. Actually, I'm just celebrating my 19th anniversary of living with the disease.
Happy anniversary.
Why, thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
And I am married to my lovely wife of 13 years,
Yes.
Jennifer, who...
And that's me. I am living with secondary progressive multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed 21 years ago. And Dan and I are doing this radio show just to show the perspectives, two different perspectives of a couple living with multiple sclerosis and the different ways that we take on the disease.
And what we're talking about today is fatigue. And the question with MS, are you sleeping? And this is one of those legitimate questions because you see so much on the internet, in Facebook communities and other chat rooms of people living with multiple sclerosis. And just how they talk, I've seen memes where it shows like up all night and can't sleep, but then you're tired all day and you can't sleep at night. And you found an article that talks about this with fatigue and with sleeplessness with multiple sclerosis.
According to an October 2018 article published on verywellhealth.com, they cited a study conducted by researchers at the University of California, Davis School of Medicine that reported that the rate of moderate to severe insomnia in people with MS, like you and me, was 38%. which is more than twice the national average. Moreover, 52% of the participants said that it took them more than an hour to fall asleep at night. I don't know about you,
Wow.
Dan, but that kind of speaks to both of us. And the researchers concluded that uncontrolled or worsening MS symptoms combined with anxiety and depression were largely to blame. So I'm sure plenty of you out there are just shaking your head, like, of course. But they also say that the insomnia wasn't considered a separate sleeping disorder, but rather the consequence of the physical and emotional burden commonly experienced by people living with multiple sclerosis. So what I thought was so interesting and why we wanted to talk today about sleeping is that if you meet a person for the first time that's living with multiple sclerosis, or you're the caregiver for someone living with MS, pretty common symptom that you'll hear us all talking about is fatigue. We're tired all of the time. But then how interesting that we're tired all the time, but then 38% of people in this study are suffering from insomnia. And just, how interesting is that we're tired, so you would think we'll go get some sleep, but we lay down to sleep and we can't fall asleep. So I think, this is a really important topic because sleep is important. I like to sleep. I know you like to sleep, Dan. I'm right there with you, snoozing the alarm 2 or 3 times in the morning. So how can we get better sleep?
I was going to say, and that's what we will talk about, is just talking about, like you say, building on that article and the realities of sleeplessness and multiple sclerosis, but also give you some tips on how to get better sleep, or things that will encourage you to get better sleep. I know that I'm a light sleeper and I don't sleep well, and I think that there are times, I don't think I necessarily have a hard time falling asleep. My issue is I fall asleep for like an hour, and whatever happens, I wake up and then I can't get back to sleep. It's like I've had a nap for an hour and just can't fall back asleep. And then I think once you're up and you can't sleep, that's when my mind starts running. That's when I start thinking about things, and all of a sudden I'm so jacked up thinking about everything that I have to do or what needs to be done, and I can't count. I know you found things on that there interweb, just talking about like counting to this or taking a deep breath and holding blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I don't, that never works for me.
Well, I find that what you're talking about is kind of like when you're laying in bed and you wake up at 2 in the morning and you say, oh, I can only sleep 5 more hours. I've got to get up at 7. And then you start spiraling because you start like, oh, I only have 4 more hours of sleep and I just want to go back to sleep. And then you're like, oh, but I have to do this, this, and this. And then you get yourself more anxious and more upset because you're not sleeping, and then you're restless. So I think it's really important to try and get to sleep, in good sleep, when you first lay down. So when you actually lay down to go to sleep and you fall to sleep, you can get some peace and rejuvenate yourself in the morning. And I know that sleep is really important. As a matter of fact, I take an exercise class once a week. It's a Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis, people living with both diseases. And it's a class that's held by some physical therapy students at Central Michigan University. And we were talking about how important sleep is actually in class on Monday. And they gave us some really good tips and things. And I think that, we should share this information and credit it to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, because that's where a lot of this information comes from. And it's a really good resource.
And with that, not only National Multiple Sclerosis, but also the Parkinson's Disease Clinic and Research Center give these tips. And I think one of my biggest issues, a lot of times I hear people say, they ask me any tips, ideas for overcoming the fatigue. And my first comment, when you ask me how do I get through, I was like, it's coffee.
And that's interesting, because reading this tip sheet, or if you've ever read tips about sleep, is the way to improve sleep is to limit your caffeine. And so certainly, Dan, I don't ever see you drinking coffee at like past 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because you do have to go to sleep in 5 hours. So limit caffeine intake. But on the same kind of thought, I think it's really important both you and I have to limit our fluid intake. As thirsty as we are going to pay for it if we drink a whole lot 1 hour before we go to bed, because our bladders...
Well, and I think that's one of the big things with the multiple sclerosis is with the bladder, and that's what wakes us up in the middle of the night, is to have to get up and go to the bathroom because of said MS bladders. Yeah. And there was one time I was at my doctor, and he had recommended, he said, don't drink anything after 8 o'clock, any kind of liquids, water, whatnot, because you need to go to bed. And that's something else that, as far as other tips, is like getting in the habit of going to bed at the same time every night, waking up at the same time in the morning, so that your body gets used to this regimen. I think that's where, we'll be point blank honest, with being a couple takes on MS, we really need to aspire to do more of these things because we're across the board. I mean, Friday nights we're in bed by
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, and then
We say that at the same time,
because
so
it's
that's the truth.
But we've gotten into the bad habit of staying up. We're not in bed with the lights out until like midnight, and we need to be going to bed sooner. And so those are things that
We need to work on.
we're just building that cycle. So we're working through this with all of you out there in terms of like getting those better sleep regimens and focusing on getting that sleep, because it is just that rest to give us the energy to function through the day.
It's very recuperative, to lay down. But then if you're going to say, okay, we're going to go to bed at the same time every night, we're going to go at a decent time, let's say 10 o'clock. We have to turn off our TVs. We need to stop looking at our cell phones, because the physical therapy students in class on Monday were talking about just that blue light of your cell phone or your computer, that kind of wakes you up, wakes your brain up a little bit more. And we don't need that right before we go to sleep. That's going to get our insides thinking, oh, let's stay awake. So try and limit your phone use, or your cell phone, or your computer. Maybe not even watch TV. Just like slow yourself down. If you're going to go to bed at 10, do your little nighttime rituals of brushing your teeth and putting on your jammies and stuff. Wind down a little bit. Like, don't just think, oh, I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock and boom, fall asleep. But have that little ritual.
It's in a matter of doing your prep work. It's like to say 10 o'clock, it's like, okay, kind of like when you you have plans to travel. It's like we have to have, butts in seat driving at this time.
Yes.
So it's not saying, oh, let's leave at 8 in the morning. Well, that's not saying 8 in the morning. Let's make sure we have everything packed up so we can get out. And then you don't get on the road till 8:30. It's like, nope, we're there, we're going. So truly, setting that time, going to bed at 10 o'clock, meaning 9 o'clock, you're winding down, you're watching the last 10 minutes, whatever show you're watching, turning your, it's like we should turn our phones off at like 8:30.
Yeah.
I mean, just so that it's there. I mean, nothing that's going to be said after 8:30, can't wait until you wake up 8 o'clock the next morning. If it's that urgent, they'll call.
And that's a good point. And so I think it's really important, in some of these tips, they don't read or watch TV in bed. I find that when we lay down and watch TV, sometimes that helps zonk us out. So I think every person is, individual, like multiple sclerosis. We're all different, But if you read and that gets your mind, heck, I remember reading. I mean, not that I still don't read now, but I can read and that will just put me to sleep. Or that just could have been graduate school. I'm not sure. No offense. But just, you can read a little bit and wind down. But do that, and as, limit your coffee, your caffeine, limit your fluids. But then what's really important, where did we get these tips? At our exercise class. And it's important to have regular exercise. I know you're busy doing your activities of daily living and living life during the day. But if you can get that regular exercise, that'll help, I think, give you a reason to sleep a little more soundly.
And that's where I need to take the inspiration from you, because you have your little calendar and you exercise daily. I don't, and it's like I went out tonight and I shoveled. I didn't shovel a ton, but probably a good, I'd say 20 minutes worth. I'm exhausted. My muscles are worn out, and I'm thinking I will sleep good tonight because I exercise. And so it is very very important to do more of that, and whatever the exercise may be. I mean, you're doing your arm bike, you're doing the leg bike, you're doing standing frame. I mean,
and an exercise that may help you before you go to bed is to do some yoga or to do some meditation or some deep breathing exercises. I find that things like that can help slow you down and get you more in the mood to fall asleep. And some people take a warm shower or take a bath. I know when you have a baby who won't fall asleep, they recommend using like lavender, that scent. So maybe taking a warm bath and with some aromas that can help lull you to sleep might be important. I know my mom uses some detergent that has lavender in it, and it helps like on her sheets for her bed, and it helps her sleep a little more soundly. So just all those little tips. And then, this is a technology age, and I'm not saying look at your cell phone right before you go to sleep again, but if you are having trouble, you can get apps for your cell phone that recommend different ways to help better your sleep. Just look out there and see what you can find. So, that can help you. I know me personally, I'm a pretty sound sleeper. I'm a little baby bear cub, as Dan calls me. But when I'm having a really difficult time sleeping, if, for example, I wake up and I can't go back, I will just start thinking. And I have this one exercise that I do. It's a mental thing. Where I lay in bed and I try and name all 50 states. So start at the A's. So A-L, Alaska, and then Alabama. No, it should go Alabama and then Alaska, and Arkansas, and then Arizona. And I just name the states off. And there are 50 of them, and you get a little frustrated, or you're doing that mental thinking, and inevitably that helps me fall asleep. And just that, and I don't want to say I fall asleep when I pray sometimes, but if I just think about the activities of my day, that can help lull me to sleep as well. So, just little tips like that can really help you sleep.
And I think something else to do, we're giving you these tips or suggesting, but the one thing too, don't wait for something big to happen. Talk to your doctor about it. See, is there something, are there medicines? I know that I talked to my neurologist about it, and he had prescribed, just because I wasn't sleeping. And I think a lot of that, looking back now, there was a lot of workplace anxiety that was keeping me up at night. And and I could not block it out. And so he had prescribed an antidepressant as a way to help me sleep, and I think I took it 2 nights, and then I had to stop taking it because I was in a fog the entire next day, and I just thought, I'm a real thick fog, and I was just like, I functioned better when I was just plain tired from not getting sleep than to get the sleep and then have all the residual antidepressant in my system.
And have that grogginess the next day. So much like living with just multiple sclerosis, when you're having sleep difficulties, you have to judge, you have to tweak it and find that perfect solution. I know some people that, if you go have a sleep study, and you find out maybe you are suffering some sleep apnea or restless leg. I'm not pointing to you, not pointing fingers.
Bring it up right there. No, you say.
But Dan sleeps and his legs kick and move quite a bit during the night. And I think that could be a reason why you're not getting that deep quality sleep that you're craving.
And I think that's where we all experience, with or without MS, people experience nap jerks, and you just do that. I've seen and I sense that my legs kick a lot, and I do think that, me being a light sleeper, that wakes me up, and so I think maybe the stretching would help with that, or maybe it's something that would go even further to where I need to talk to my doctor to get that taken care of. I think that there's lots of things. Then it could be, I say an antidepressant. Your article that you read had talked about anxiety and depression, which is, those are real, those are very real in people in general, but I mean, just, for those of us with MS.
We have so many questions when we lay down at night, just dealing with our health on a day-to-day basis, the what ifs, what the future looks like. I mean, those are questions that most people deal with at night, or think, do the mental running around in their heads at night. But for those of us living with a chronic disease like multiple sclerosis, they're that much more intensified. And so I think you need to really get a handle on that and try and get things under control in your personal life or in your financial life or with your family. I mean, just because if you can't turn your mind off, it's going to be difficult for you to sleep.
And there's a lot that we have on our minds. It's, you lay there in bed trying to go to sleep at night. It's like you think, what were my wins today? Where did I fail? What did I need to do better? How will I improve this? What do I have coming up tomorrow? And you just start doing that whole mental planning and everything, and then you get anxiety, especially if you're thinking about, okay, I have to worry about this tomorrow, so I should fix it now in my mind. And it's just like, one of the things that always helps me when I'm laying there and I can't sleep, or you start thinking about it, it's just like, it's interesting that during the day, as you're functioning through all the activities, all you think about and dream about is like, I can't wait till I'm in bed and I can sleep. And so it's like all of those things that I'm thinking about at night that keep me up, I'm like, those are things I can worry about during the day. Right now, I can sleep, and this is what I've wanted all day. Don't think about all those issues, because God knows you're going to have all kinds of time to deal with that tomorrow. This is my time to sleep, and this is like, I've blocked out these 7 hours to sleep.
So that really goes back to being present, like we've talked about in the past, that you need to be present in the moment to enjoy the moment, for a better quality of life. But if you can be really present when you're laying in bed, like, okay, Jennifer, don't think about all the other stuff you have to do tomorrow. Think about the fact that you're in bed and you can sleep and you can recuperate your body, and hopefully you can get some of that stamina built up for tomorrow, recharge your batteries. That's a really good point, Dan.
Because those things, even if you come up with, you're not going to come up with a solution at 2:30 in the morning. It's like, get the sleep, and there were articles I've read where, in terms of, where they're talking about work and productivity, and how they really urged people to not pull all-nighters or stay up, because you don't function as well the next day because you're not getting your sleep. And so whatever problem, whatever issue I'm dealing with, whether it's MS, work-related, whatever,
right,
I'm not going to solve it while I'm trying to get to sleep and I'm frustrated because I'm not sleeping. Get the sleep, because then the next day I will have the energy and the clear head to be able to solve it then.
And kudos to you for making yourself the priority. When you go to bed, you need to really focus on yourself, so you have something in the tank so that you can be a caregiver for your children or your spouse, or work well, productivity at your job the next day. By getting that good sleep, you are saying, yeah, I'm the largest piece of this puzzle, and I need to take care of myself.
And that, you bring that up, and I mean, that makes a good point, because everybody has so much we all have to take care of on any given day, especially when we're living with this disease. And just how you do need to save up and have gas, gas in the tank. It was like, not necessarily sleep related, but tonight out shoveling, I'm shoveling. I want to break down that big old bump that the snowplow puts at the edge of the driveway that I can't.
Right.
And I'm shoveling and I'm doing it. It's like my arms getting tired and I'm just like, I can do this. I'm going to do. And it hit me. It's like, my arms need to be intact so that I can help you transfer when I get out. So it's like, you know what? This is good enough with the shoveling. Just let it go, because you have to have enough energy to help Jennifer later. And
That's
so,
very nice of you. Thank
well,
you.
you're welcome. But it's like, that's why we, with the sleep, with this, you go to bed because you owe it to yourself, and to be your biggest fan and your own biggest supporter, to take care of yourself and get that sleep. And so a lot of this stuff, fret about it tomorrow, because you need the sleep tonight so that you can handle it tomorrow.
That's a good point. And so I think sleep is very important. And, as we said, you have to take care of yourself so you can be the caregiver. Thank you for what you are doing for me. You're an awesome caregiver for me, but you also need to be a caregiver for yourself and put yourself at the top of the priority list. And so I think some of the tips that we talked about, the ways to improve your sleep, is to maintain a regular sleep schedule. Don't watch TV or play on the internet right before you go to bed. Avoid that blue light. Limit your caffeine, limit your water intake or your fluid intake, exercise regularly, and just really make yourself the top priority, because sleep is very important. And if you're having trouble, if you're not sleeping well, reach out to your primary care doctor or your neurologist, because there are plenty of things that doctors can do to help you sleep better.
Either prescribe or recommend treatments, exercises, whatever. So let us know what you think. What are your sleeping challenges, and how have you overcome them in living and dealing with MS? And so reach out to us on our website. It's danandjenniferdigman.com, or on Twitter at danjendig. This has been a couple takes on MS. This has been Dan Digman
and Jennifer Digman.
And thank you all for listening. And thank you also to the MS&Me Radio Network for including us in their programming. And thanks to the Blue Giraffe Kid for composing the theme music for our show. Take care.